So here I'm placing some of the colorectal adipose tissue against the device, and you can see how easily it's highlighting multiple lymph nodes just in that portion of adipose tissue alone. And you can see here that the contrast is actually quite evident. It doesn't take a lot of analysis to decipher what is a lymph node and what is the adipose tissue. It's very straightforward and it's very simple. Hi, my name is Anne, and I'm a pathologist assistant. I graduated from University of Maryland, Baltimore in Baltimore, Maryland. I have worked as a PA in a lot of different institutions, ranging from academic hospitals, working with new PAs, PA students, and residents, and I've worked in community hospitals where I've been the only PA working for the entire lab. Now, today I work as a travel PA, and I enjoy working in various settings around the country. So, with lymph node grossing, the CAP cancer protocols have different guidelines depending on the tumor type. So, for example, there are some tumor types where the protocols range from identifying lymph nodes in particular regions to protocols where there's a point-blank quantitation of lymph nodes. But across the tumor types, the very bottom line is that you want to find as many lymph nodes as possible in order to provide better and more accurate patient care. There are a lot of challenges that can come to finding lymph nodes. The first, most basic challenge is finding enough lymph nodes, which can be compounded by a number of circumstances. So, the example is if you are a new PA student, or a resident, the first few lymph node searches can be difficult. And this is because lymph nodes can range in all sizes from 1 millimeter to positive lymph nodes being up to 10 centimeters. And then, in addition to that, they can range in different levels of firmness. So sometimes they can be easy to palpate, and sometimes they're very difficult to palpate. And then after that, you can have neoadjuvant cases, which can make lymph node searches even more difficult. So sometimes cancer resections can occur after therapy, and as a result, these can shrink the sizes of the lymph nodes, making them even more difficult to find. So as a result, in neoadjuvant cases, this can yield even less than optimal number of lymph nodes. With those two together, the current pressures of the working environment can also affect lymph nodes. I think a lot of PAs and residents can understand that lots of labs are under chronic pressure due to a lot of difficulties like keeping up with staffing or by nature of being part of a high volume system. So this can mean that there's a lot of time crunch pressure to keep up with all the cases that are coming through and having to move on to other cases much more quickly. And as a result, lymph nodes can be missed. I think this device does an amazing job at addressing a lot of these pressure points that can negatively affect lymph node searches. So what's amazing is that the device works in real time. It doesn't require any complicated software. You just place the tissue on top of a glass screen, and in real time, you can see how many lymph nodes are present. There's no need to take an image and wait for it to load, and it doesn't require a chamber that you have to put the tissue in and close and wait to see what the software finds. And on top of that, the device itself is designed to be ergonomic and seamless. It's small enough where you can place it on top of any bench, no matter what your bench setup looks like and no matter what else is packed on the bench. It's made in this plastic case that's really easy to wipe down in case it gets dirty or in case of light splashing. You don't have to worry too much about the pristine condition of the device. The device is battery powered, but can also be plugged in when needed. But to me, that means there's also no cable that has to get in the way of work. And it means that you can move the device wherever on the bench it's most convenient to you. It also takes away the need to use fixatives to help identify lymph nodes. And these fixatives can be carcinogenic, and they still take over time to become effective, whereas this machine is instantaneous. So ultimately, that means there's no need to take even a single step away from your work. There's no need to go to a different area of the lab, to a different department, and there's no need to delay time having to find more lymph nodes. I think this device is designed to be used for everybody, any level of experience. It's made to be simple enough so that you, as the pro sector, can dictate how the device can be used, rather than the device dictating how you need to change your workload to use it. New residents and PAs can use the device to help them gain confidence and experience when it comes to lymph node dissections, especially the first few times, because lymph nodes can be tricky. As a new resident or a PA, you can use the device to determine if what you have is a lymph node, or you can just use the device to do the lymph node search for you. And even in the case of extremely experienced PAs, I think they can benefit from using this device even if you have no problems finding lymph nodes. With the size of the device and how simple it is, you can just leave the device next to you until you need to use it. When you're done with your lymph node search, you can simply run the remaining tissue over the device to see if there are any minute or missed lymph nodes that are left over. The device can pick up lymph nodes as small as a millimeter, so even if you feel confident in your skills, it can still provide a sense of comfort that doesn't have to sacrifice time. So the benefits are, because the device is real time, there's no cost of time to use the device, and there's only benefit because clinically any extra lymph node can make the difference for staging and treatment. Because it's so efficient, it only serves to benefit patient care. It's absolutely worth it. There is no need to go back. There's no need to blindly submit tissue, which is a problem that snowballs down the line, putting more pressure on histotechs and pathologists, especially if you're having to blindly submit multiple times. This cuts down on delaying turnaround times, cutting down extra labor, and minimizing the number of cassettes that have to be wasted. This device can find all types of lymph nodes, which includes lymph nodes that are difficult to palpate or see grossly, and the neoadjuvant cases that can make lymph node dissections a challenge for even the most experienced of PAs. And the device can be used as a catch-all as well. So even if you're just running the leftover tissue against the machine, the machine can highlight any missed lymph nodes that can happen as a result of working under pressure, like short staffing situations or simple time constraints, so you can work with the environment at hand without having to sacrifice patient care. So using this device to maximize finding the number of lymph nodes is paramount to patient care, which benefits the entire clinical team involved. This includes benefiting the clinicians and the surgeons, and more lymph nodes always means more confidence in providing a better prognosis and patient care. This brings more confidence to the entire system for the patient. So this is an example of how I use the device next to my bench and how unobtrusive it is to grossing, and that you can use it to be a part of the grossing. So you can see here, I'm cutting the fat right up against the machine, and it doesn't get in the way of me trying to reach around the bench, and I'm not wrestling with the device, and I'm not wrestling with any cables or such. I'm able to do my job as normal. So here I'm placing some of the colorectal adipose tissue against the device, and you can see how easily it's highlighting multiple lymph nodes just in that portion of adipose tissue alone. And you can see here that the contrast is actually quite evident. It doesn't take a lot of analysis to decipher what is a lymph node and what is the adipose tissue. It's very straightforward and it's very simple. So here is an example of having multiple lymph node candidates in the same specimen. And you can see that I'm able to cut the lymph node right up against the screen to make sure that I'm not accidentally cutting through one of the lymph nodes while I'm trying to separate them in order to submit them separately into a cassette. So here I'm placing an example of a lymph node next to a vessel and next to a portion of the colon wall. you can see how well the device is visualizing the different components from the colon wall to the blood clot in the vessel to the lobulations of the adipose tissue. And you can see how well you can tell apart what the lymph node is to the other components of the specimen.